everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The Grade 3 San Marcos Stakes is race number 6 at Santa Anita on Sunday, and it kicks off a pick 4. It's one of the better betting races on the entire card at Santa Anita. Let's throw up the field right now. Pretty wide open from a morning line standpoint. The number 7, Dicey Mochara, 3-1 on the line, coming off a win in the San Gabriel. Master of Foxhounds is a horse with legitimate credentials. He won this race in 2021. And you have Say the Word, Mike, who's returning off of a lengthy layoff. He hasn't raced since this exact race in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, Say the Word might be the best horse in this race, Dan. It's a substantial layoff that he's going to be asked to overcome here, going 11 furlongs. I mean, I guess if he's ready to run close to his best, he's going to be really, really tough in here. But, man, I think you kind of have to wait to see what kind of price you're going to be offered before you decide to bet him.
Scan that QR code for Race of the Day coverage on your mobile device as we take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector. We're going 1.25 miles for this Grade 3 San Marcos on the turf. Evan Harlan, Master of Foxhounds. Both of these horses are fast. They both drew inside. I think Master of Foxhounds, if he can rate, and that's a bit of an if because sometimes he can be headstrong, he'll love to sit off of Evan Harlan and get the jump on everybody else.
Yeah, I agree. That could be a really good trip for him. And that's not, not trying to knock Evan Harlan, who's still really lightly raced and just turned 4. But if he makes the lead, I'm sure the rider of Master of Foxhounds would be happy to just sit off that horse.
Because Evan Harlan made the lead last time out in a first level allowance. He's still eligible for a non-winners of 2 life. He was 8-1 in this race. He made the lead. He gets swallowed up and finishes 3rd. Now, you respect anything Graham Motion puts out onto the track. He's going to stretch Evan Harlan all the way out in distance, and maybe that will help this horse, Mike, relax a little bit more. He has a lot to prove from a class perspective.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is, what Motion's been waiting for, just to get this horse stretched out in distance. He has certainly improved in his last 3 starts. It does feel like he's getting a little better. He could also be in here, Dan, just to maybe ensure a little bit of pace for his stablemate who likes to sit and make one run. So we'll see how they're, going to try to use Evan Harlan in here, but he's got to improve by a lot.
Master of Foxhounds really loves 1.25 miles. Won this race in 2021, won the Whittingham at Santa Anita last year, and he was assaulted coming out of the gate in the San Gabriel last time out. He bobbled leaving the gate, then he was bounced around. Mike Smith did a very good job of getting this horse into the pocket, passing the stands the first time, but Master of Foxhounds took the bit and pulled, and as we turned into the stretch of that race, Master of Foxhounds had the lead, and he eventually got tired. We'll watch that replay in a bit. He, with the trip he could get in this race, could be the horse to beat.
Yeah, the trip could really work out for him. He's obviously got the recency edge on the other sort of top level horse in here, Say the Word. So all those things could conspire to him being really hard to beat in here. I mean, his good race is actually pretty good, Dan. And there could be a good trip coming here.
Opry won the Grade 3 with anticipation for Todd Pletcher at Saratoga as a 2-year-old. Then really couldn't get out of that second-level allowance condition for Todd. He was eventually claimed a couple of times. He paid dividends last time out for Mr. Papa Padromu at 18-1 in this $80,000 optional claiming race. He got some pace, but he stayed up close and he finished it off. Maybe he's getting back into his good form, but he's now got to step up in class and perhaps most importantly, back out in distance.
Yeah, not sure that this is a good distance stretch out for him. He runs pretty well in here to win off the claim, Dan, but he also got an absolutely perfect trip in that race, and it took him forever to finally close down that horse on the lead in there. And I also just kind of feel like the horse that wound up finishing 3rd to him was also back in here. To me, that horse got really unlucky in that race. I don't know. Opry, he's got a race in him. I guess they could give him a chance in here, but I didn't like him that much.
I respect the 4 Prince Abama's tactical speed, and I do think he has a good amount of upside potential. He won the Hollywood Turf Cup going 12 furlongs, 2 starts back, and last time out in the San Gabriel, he was in a little bit of traffic when trying to rally, Mike.
He did get in a little traffic last time. It was nice to see him sort of back up his Hollywood Turf Cup, at least in some ways, Dan, because the Hollywood Turf Cup, and he did run pretty well in that race, and it proved that he can get a distance of ground. To me, he had the best trip in the race that day. And I thought some of the horses that he beat who were back in here didn't get as lucky as he did, but he still ran well. And then he backed it up last time. So maybe he's just a horse who's finally headed in the right direction.
We've seen East Coast based horses move out to the West and do very, very well on turf in these graded stakes races, maybe yes, this time will take a step forward. Now, he hasn't reached the winner's circle since completing a 5-race win streak in the Grade 3 Kent back in 2021. Here's his most recent start, allowance race at Gulfstream on New Year's Day, and he has good tactical speed. He's a versatile horse, it seems, from a distance standpoint. He ends up finishing an even third. The 6th place horse would come back to win a second-level turf race at Tampa with an 86 buyer.
Yeah, we'll see, how much he can, start to develop now, Dan. He was okay as a 3-year-old. I don't think he was like, one of the top 3-year-old turf horses, but he placed in a couple of stakes races. He ran his race going a little bit longer too, so that's okay. And unfortunately for him, he just never really got much of a campaign together last year as a 4-year-old, so he didn't really get to improve. Maybe he'll start improving now.
The number 6, Cash Equity, has finished behind several of these in his last 2 races. Maybe had a little bit of traffic last time out in the Hollywood Turf Cup, going 1.5 miles. I don't mind him cutting back to 1.25 miles. I think his kick will be enhanced at this distance. I still have a question as to how good he ultimately is, if he's truly a graded stakes type horse.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm not sure that this is the kind of race that he can win, assuming everybody else in here shows up with their good race and gets, some kind of representative trip. I just don't know if it's really going to work out for Cash Equity. He had a little bit of trouble early in that Hollywood Turf Cup last time, but after that, he got into position. He took a run at Prince Abama on the lead, and he just wasn't good enough, Dan.
Here's Dicey Mochara, the number 7, winning the San Gabriel last time out. He's a very honest horse with good tactical speed. Master of Foxhounds took them into the stretch with the lead. We see Dicey Mochara, though, on the outside, not far behind, and he's going to grind them down. He's a very honest, consistent horse. 3-1 is a little bit light, considering he doesn't have such a strong edge on this field, but you can almost guarantee he's going to run his usual good race.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't really mind him stretching back out in distance for this race. I kind of feel like last time was the time to have him, Dan. He was actually a very fair price in that race. And he's one of the horses in the Hollywood Turf Cup who I just thought had no chance. The way the race was run and the trip that he pulled in that race, to me, he just got really unlucky. So last time was a great time to have him, but I think he could run well right back.
I agree with the point you made in the open about the number 8, Say the Word, and that he might be the best horse in this race. You look at his running lines, he's been very, very good since going over to Phil D'Amato in Southern California. The problem is he hasn't run since this exact race, the San Marcos, over 1 year ago. And in this race, he lagged near the back of the pack. That's his running style. He gets to the outside at the 3/16, and he gets up to finish third. The 5th place horse would come back to win a Grade 3 with a 95 buyer speed figure. Say the Word after this race, Mike, was going to run in the San Luis Rey. He was entered. He banged himself in his stall. That was in March of 2022. Had to be scratched. They were going to run him in the Elkhorn during the Keeneland Spring Meet. He never showed up for that. So this is a long, long layoff, but it's also a very, very good trainer and a pretty good horse.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. We'll see what you get off the layoff here. It's also at least worth pointing out that he might be a little bit better going a little longer than this. His 3 major wins so far are 1.5 miles. So maybe they're going to build up to something like that. But I think it's pretty clear that if he is ready off the layoff and gets any kind of a setup here, he's going to be pretty dangerous late. You just have to decide what kind of price you want to take on him, because I feel like he could get bet in here.
The number 9 is the Gray Wizard, going out for Graham Motion. I think this horse has a ton of upside potential. Now, we're going to watch his most recent race. It's a first-level allowance. On paper, he had to fall down to lose, but he's last on the rail, turning into the stretch. There are horses in front of him, and he shows off, I think, some class, determination, and a very nice kick to win going away.
Yeah, this is a good performance here. The trip ultimately did work out for him, but he did have to push his way through there. Obviously, the drop in class did a lot for this horse as well, but it's a good performance. That I agree with that. I feel like there's a lot of upside here. The distance is no problem for him. Maybe he gets a little bit of a better setup this time. There should be at least a little pace for him to come running at. Does he have to improve to win? I think he does, but I won't be surprised if he's able to do that.
But he has the right combination of class, upside, and distance ability. He was second to odds on Nation's Pride, a very good horse in the Jockey Club Derby at Aqueduct last year. He was second in the Hollywood Turf Cup the first time he was tested in Southern California. He's going to be charging in the stretch. Avenue is the number 10. He was third in the Opry race we showed you last time out. But Mike, as you mentioned, you'd rather take this horse.
Yeah, I would. I didn't really like the trip that he ultimately wound up getting in the Hollywood Turf Cup, mostly just because after he wound up losing position early, his rider just took him out wide on the backstretch. And he actually, I felt like he carried a lot of ground in that race, while Prince Abama got a perfect trip right up on the pace. And the Gray Wizard got a great ride coming up the inside to get second. I thought this horse ran really well in there. He came back last time. He got, to me, super unlucky in that race. Boxed in behind horses. He could never improve his position until it was way too late. And then he ran at the end. I like him stretching back out. And I think this race could set up a little bit differently.
Let's take, before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time now for our Sunday race of the day. It's the San Marcos. It's a good betting race. You're going with Avenue. You mentioned the trip he had last time out. He has shown ability in his career. He's going to have to work out a trip from post 10, but the price is going to be juicy.
Yeah, that's the whole key. He just needs to get the right kind of trip in it. But I do think he can go with these horses, Dan. And I'm just going to hope that he can work something out here from post 10. He's a great price on the morning line. I got to bet this horse.
My top pick is your second selection, the 8 Say the Word. We'll see if he can still step. He's 8 years old. He hasn't run in a long time. Maybe this distance is a little bit sharp for him, but I think there's a good chance this pace is going to be fair to fast, and he's going to be running on at the end. 10-8-7-2 for Mike, 8-2-3-7 for me. It's the Grade 3 San Marcos, one of 2 graded stakes races at the Great Race Place on Sunday. Good luck.